Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement.
Letting the joy unfold. I'm living my life like it's golden. 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 Golden. Living my life like it's 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 golden.
This organization has been on the front line. People ask me, why do families call us? Because we never leave them. No justice. No justice. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? When do we want it?
April the 6th. know what time it is. It's Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A good afternoon to all of you across the country. Good morning to our West Coast listeners, and welcome to all those listening on Sirius XM, channel 126. Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm Dominique Sharpton, Reverend Sharpton's eldest daughter. I'm sitting in for Rev. Rev is going to be joining us momentarily. We've got a lot going on in this country. We've got a lot going on in our communities. Rev will be joining us momentarily to tell us what he's been up to, why he's late to Keeping It Real today. But we're glad that all of you are on time as we're taking your calls across the country, and you can join in on the conversation today by calling us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Good morning, good afternoon to our message board, those who are participating and writing us comments on our message board, who is watching us via live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net. We got a lot going on, a lot to discuss today, and certainly want to get into it. Certainly we've been all looking and listening to the tragic news of former Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, who presumably has killed himself and his wife amid some divorce proceedings. Authorities are saying that Justin Fairfax fatally shot his wife before taking his own life inside of their Virginia home overnight. The couple's teenage children were inside at the time, and their older son was the one who called 911 shortly after midnight. And so this investigation is happening, but there was apparently a complicated divorce, noting that Fairfax had recently been served court documents regarding upcoming proceedings, and the investigation, of course, remains in its early stages. But this is not just a headline, it's certainly a crisis of mental health, of domestic conflict, and of pressure. And so we've got to talk about this. And certainly when public figures often carry, private turmoil behind public success. And we can talk about that. I can certainly attest to a lot of that pressure. But, divorce and legal pressure and reputation damage can create real volatile emotional environments. And so we don't talk enough about mental health in high pressure environments. We don't talk enough about mental health, how it's impacting us in our own communities and our own families. We don't talk enough about mental health and the stipulations around mental health. And certainly as these episodes arise, and we've continuously seen issues like this, right, all over the country, but especially among Black men in leadership, Black men in this country. It connects a lot to, the stigma around therapy, around lack of emotional outlets. And this is just my perspective, but also the cultural expectations, I feel, of strength is over vulnerability, I would say, in addition to that. And so why is it that you think that mental health is still such a taboo in our community? Why is it that we are, not feeling comfortable in discussing this, not only on a community level, but on a national level? And those of you who came to National Action Network's convention, we had a whole panel on, health and how physically, our physical health and our mental health couple go hand in hand. And so if you're not feeling well, you're not feeling up to par, you're not feeling like doing the work, that could be impacting your mind. And also the flip side of that, if you're not making your mind up to doing these things, then of course your physicality is going to be, weighed down and impacted. And so we've got to really discuss how seriously we are taking our mental health, doing those check-ins, doing the necessary work to make sure that we are equipping ourselves mentally for this fight, for the things that we have to face in life, for the issues that we constantly have to confront. And we can look through the history of this country, the history of our ancestry, even, and understand and really outright pinpoint how mental health has been impactful to us over generations and how we've overcome through them. So I think that it's really important as we discuss this incident to also talk about that as the root of things to discuss. And certainly we want to, of course, extend our condolences and our support to his family, his children, their children, who have to now endure this horrific tragedy that has happened to their parents and who have to live on, and what support that, is going to take and what they will need. And so we definitely want to really give our condolences, but also offer any support that we can, obviously, to his children and to those who will have to bear the brunt of what this tragedy has brought to their family and to the community. So want to talk about that. And obviously in other news, want to talk about and we will talk more as today is Policy Day, and we will be joined today by our political wonk, sister attorney Jennifer Jones Austin. So I know that people are going to be calling in to talk Policy Day, and we want to definitely talk about what's going on with our policies across the country. But certainly in this issue with the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has blasted progressivism as a threat to America. I want to talk about what's going on with y'all's boy, Clarence Thomas. He delivered a very sharp critique of progressivism, calling it an existential threat to America, to this country, and arguing that it seeks to replace the founding principles of the United States, Declaration of Independence, and reshaping, of course, the nation's system of government. He said, a growing culture of cynicism, hostility, and animus toward America has taken hold, blaming intellectuals and universities for undermining beliefs like unalienable rights and equality, and warning that progressivism shifts rights from being God-given to government-controlled. He was speaking amid deep national division, and he urged Americans, of course, to defend their traditional constitutional values and be willing to make those sacrifices, emphasizing, of course, the need for courage, similar to, of course, the nation's founders, and also how we really can preserve democracy. And, these are two competing visions of America. So you got Clarence Thomas's view that's fixed on founding principles and rooted in tradition. And then the more progressive view, really dealing more with the Constitution as a living document. And, and that document evolves. And so this feels like a little deja vu. The civil rights movement was once labeled radical. Women's rights, the rights for labor rights, all face the same pushback. And so who decides what America is supposed to be? Because every generation has redefined it. We've seen it. We've lived it. We've been a part of it. And so that continues. But who decides what America is supposed to be? Is it us? Is it the government? Is it those who are put in legislation? Is it those who we feel are empowered through businesses, through financial empowerment and financial leverage? Who is it actually that decides what America is supposed to be? And for generations, we've had to deal, like I said, with how different movements have shaped different moments, moments of elevation, moments of fighting for rights as we believe it to be, moments to fight for liberties that we know we deserve. If we're dealing with the civil rights movement, if we're dealing with the labor movement, if we're dealing with the LGBTQ movement, we're dealing with the women's movement, whatever movement you associate with. has gone through these provisions, have gone through these setbacks, have gone through these placements of labeling in terms of how effective these movements have been based on the work that they can get done. And so when you look at the civil rights movement, you look at the trajectory of how the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act and how, that formulated the avenue and the leeway and the protocol, right, for how we fight for things that we have done more recently, like the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act or the Voting Rights Act, or how we are fighting on many different levels to keep or even discuss the whole diversity, equity, and inclusion, how that fits in with corporate responsibility and how that trickles down to jobs and justice for us in this country. We deal with the labeling issue, right? We deal with the fact that that things just don't necessarily align with the status quo and what power, I say that, not, excluding myself, but excluding myself for sure. But yeah, like we've been dealing with it, and we've been really also been the courageous ones, those that have taken that courageous stance and that commitment to say, I'm going to stand up for my rights and I'm going to be an advocate for change. Well, what does that look like? We've got to be true to ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, and we've got to be committed to what we know we've got to do. Keeping it real, y'all. It's Thursday. Time to heat it up. The phone lines are open and you can join in on the conversation. 1-877-532-5797. We'll be back with more of Keeping It Real with Sharpton. We'll be right back.
Breaking news. The issues.
I remember I was 12 years old. I was a boy preacher in the Church of God in Christ. Bishop Shear knew my bishop, Bishop Washington. Bishop Washington, my mother was concerned I was getting into politics. They brought us to Reverend William Jones. His daughter's traveling with us. And Reverend Jones introduced me to Jesse Jackson. I became his youth director in New York at 13. I liked Reverend Jackson because he was a little hipper than the older preachers. He was 27, I was 13 by the time I became youth director. So he was like a father figure to me. When I got about 40, he said, quit calling me father, call me big brother. We went to the car center, and James Meeks and Jesse Jr. and I had dinner with him that night. And that's where he said to us, Al, me, Jesse Jr., y'all are my disciples. And we said, disciples? And for years we joked each other. I'd come in the room and Junior said, here's disciple number one. But discipleship meant you carried forth the vision. The next day, he took me on the ferry to Goree Island, Mrs. Jackson. On Goree Island, he showed me where the slave camps were. And I will never forget, he said, Al, you see what that artifact is? I said, what's that? He said, they call it the door of no return. When you go through that door, you either made it to America to slavery, or you died in your land. The door of no return. But I talked to him about 3 years ago. And I reminded him, I said, remember when you brought me to the door of no return? He said, yeah. I said, well, we did return. We returned the President of the United States, Barack Obama. We returned the Vice President, Kamala Harris. We returned with businessmen. They thought they sent us as slaves. We came back as global liberators. The problem is that too many of us did not join the movements that sponsored us. And there was a breakout in 2024 called Negro Amnesia, where you forgot where you came from and forgot how you got where you got. Therefore, they're trying to take back everything you had. Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton time. It's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. You need to keep it real with Reverend Al Sharpton right here on Uber TV. Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Let's go back to the phone. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin. You know, every day, Monday through Friday, I do 3 hours a day on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. I do 1 hour on Sunday mornings with Reverend Al Sharpton. And I'm live on radio and TV with the Saturday Action Rally. 7 days a week, I talk to our people, hear from them, to call in. I'm sick and tired of people talking for people that they don't talk to. So go on www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Listen to my show, call in, express your opinion. You don't have to agree with me. But let's start talking to each other rather than about each other and lecturing at each other. Let's keep it real with Sharpton.
Happy 20th anniversary to Reverend Al Sharpton on 20 years of Keeping It Real. 2 decades of truth-telling, fearless advocacy, and keeping the people informed and empowered. Thank you for always speaking power to justice and standing firm for what's right. Here's to 20 years of impact and many more to come.
Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
Reverend Sharpton, good to see you here tonight. By our count at WMUR, you've only been here once in 2003.
You counted wrong.
Okay.
You must be using the Florida Republicans count.
Nevertheless, as far as your visits are concerned, you have been here far less often than your colleagues here who have gone through the paces, met with the voters, done the grassroots style of campaigning that the voters of New Hampshire are expecting and looking for. Why shouldn't those very same voters not think of you as disrespecting them by not coming here and doing the same thing?
Well, I think, first of all, I've been here several times last year and this year. I intend to be here. In fact, I was to preach here Sunday, and the snow stopped me. I intend to be here between now and the primary. And I think that's any more than any of us. There are many places that some of my colleagues have not been to often at all. I think that people go and campaign based on their resources and their availability.
Real.
So I
Keeping
think
it
that is
real.
not
I'm Dominique
something
Sharpton.
we should
Sit
read
in for the Rev. Rev is joining us momentarily, but we are taking your calls across the country. You can join in the conversation today with us. Call us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. You can also join us on the message board. We've already got a lot of comments as people are talking about what's going on in the world, and you can join us on the message board and leave your comment as well, watching us via live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net. Before the break, we were talking about two very important incidents, and we will get into, of course, our policy day, as we will be joined by Sister Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin, and we're going to talk about Iran and what's going on. So many things that are happening across the country and beyond that we need to discuss, we need to be involved in, we need to be active about. And of course, it all starts here on Keeping It Real. But really, to go deeper into this Clarence Thomas and really the ideological battle for America, this is not just a speech, right? But it's a signal. And I believe someone on the message board, Joanne Kemp, 4834, said Clarence Thomas benefited from some of the same things he's rallying against now. How soon we forget. You're right. But when a sitting Supreme Court justice like Clarence Thomas calls progressivism an existential threat, he's not just offering an opinion, I feel, in my opinion. He's also defining really what a world view that could really shape decisions and how that's affecting millions of people for generations. And so what he's really saying is this, y'all. America's at a crossroads, right, between two competing identities. We have a fixed America in one identity. The Constitution is static. The rights are unchanging, right? And the founder's intent is the final word. But then we have, on the other level, an evolving America, one that we believe in, one that we fight for, where the Constitution is living, where rights are expanded as society evolves, and where, of course, justice is something that we continue to define. And so here's where it gets real. Here's where Keeping It Real comes in. Every major advancement in this country came from what was once called progressive. Hello, y'all. Ending segregation, progressive. Expanding the voting rights, progressive. Protecting workers, progressive. Advancing women's rights, progressive, right? And so all of those things were labeled dangerous. They were labeled radical. They were labeled even un-American, right? And so when Clarence Thomas calls progressivism a threat, you simply have to ask this question: is progress the threat, or is change uncomfortable for those in power? It really boils down to that. And even the deeper layer to all of this is that Clarence Thomas himself, as you said, Joanne, benefited from policies that were rooted in expanding opportunity. How would he have gotten to his seat, right? But yet now these critiques, and he critiques the very framework, of course, that allowed the broader access, of course, to power. And that tension is why this conversation resonates so deeply. This isn't abstract, y'all. This is not abstract. It's real consequences. The voting rights decisions, the affirmative action, the federal power versus the state power, the civil rights protections, all of these things, really shape the rulings that either expand the access or roll it back. And so to me, it feels like deja vu, because every time America has had to decide whether to move forward or stay rooted in the past, there's been a voice saying, slow down, go back. We heard it during Reconstruction. We heard it during the Civil Rights Movement, and we're hearing it again now. Do y'all really believe that America should evolve or stay anchored in its original framework? And when does protecting tradition become blocking progress? When does it become blocking progress? I see somebody asking, saying that they have an incident and I want to address Aisha Hamilton. Sister Aisha, you should call us right now at the House of Justice. Someone can take your call and we can help you with that instance. The number, Sister Aisha, if you are on the message board, I'll have Jalen send you a message, but I'll also give that number out, 877-626-4651, 626-4651, and we will definitely take your information and definitely try to help you with your incident. Thank you so much for reaching out on the message board. Hello from North Dakota. Hello, Patty Simmons. Good afternoon to you as well. Good afternoon. Somebody said they was from listening to us from Canada. I want to say good afternoon to you as well. We've got a lot to talk about, and certainly we want to hear from you. We were also talking, of course, about the Justin Fairfax tragedy, of course, and really the pressure on public life. And I have these types of conversations all the time when we're talking about really checking in with each other, checking in with ourselves, checking in with our mental health, checking in with our stability. It really does take that confidence, right? Take that first step for us to say, well, how am I really doing? So have you asked yourself that today? Have you looked in the mirror and say, how am I really doing? What do I need? Have you been able to define that? Because that is where it starts when we're talking about how we can rectify a lot of these issues, whether it's dealing with or confronting mental health, whether it's dealing with, the physical health and the ramifications that we are dealing with right now, even around prescription drugs, the price is high on that, and seeing a doctor and all of these things. We need to check in with ourselves. But when we really look at what happened with the Justin Fairfax situation, it's not just about one family. And so we just don't want to get caught up with that. But it is really about, the pressure, this mental health, and what happens really when people unravel privately while they're living a public life. And so we've seen that already. We've seen that happen many times, of course, before as well. He was a high profile political figure. He was previously under intense public scrutiny, facing a complicated divorce. Not to say that these things all justify what obviously happened. But these are stressors, and we put a lot of stressors on ourselves. We put a lot of stressors on our family. And so mental health and the discussion of it can't stay silent. We've got to continue to use the momentum, continue to use our belief in community building in order to really deal with peeling back the layers of what we need to do to really address this, addressing the stigma of therapy, as I mentioned before, addressing the emotional vulnerability that we face every day, and of course, how our strength is absolutely defined. And so I want to get into all this and more, definitely taking your calls, and you can join in on the conversation, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. We'll be back with more of Keeping It Real with Sharpton. We'll be right back.
This organization has been on the front line. People ask me, why do families call us? Because we never leave them. No justice. No justice. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? When do we want it?
Voting rights.
Everyone look here.
Say it again, Miss Pearl.
Voting rights.
Voting rights. One more time, Miss Pearl.
Voting rights.
There we go.
Voting rights. Voting rights.
Voting rights.
Voting rights.
Voting rights.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we need it?
Now. Yesterday.
What do we want?
Voting rights.
When do we need it?
Now.
What do we want?
Voting rights.
When do we need it?
Now.
thank God I was blessed to have both in my life. Both historic, strong figures. But if I misused them and listened to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about tonight. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke.
Live.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm Dominique Sharpton, sitting in for the Rev, taking your calls, 1-877-532-5797. Got a lot to talk about, and certainly we getting a policy. We got a lot to discuss today. Sister Jennifer Jones Austin will be joining us momentarily, as well as Reverend Sharpton. So let's get it in. But just remember, keep it real. Those on the message board, y'all feel me, and I'm going to definitely be sharing your messages as well. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk with Online 4 JT, listening to us from Wisconsin. You're keeping it real. Good afternoon.
Yes. Miss Dominique Sharpton?
Yes, speaking.
How you doing, young lady?
How are you, sir? I'm good.
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. And Dominique, excuse me, because I think I had share what I want to talk about today nationwide with Donald Trump and these Republicans is trying to keep us from voting and stuff like that. Dominique.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure when Attorney Jennifer Austin come on, she'll probably share that too. But Dominique, when the Trump administration talk about we're going to have a fear voting thing going on, Dominique. I may not be sharing that.
No, talk about it. I know where you're going, JT. You got the floor. Go ahead and talk about it.
So my concern is when they talk about that, we're going to have a true American voting law and stuff like that, and all that kind of stuff. Well, we have been doing that anyway, because when we had to sign up a vote back in the days, Dominique, excuse me for going there, nationwide, but come on now. We had to fight hard to be able to vote. And don't even talk about how many marbles in a jar or how many bubbles on a soap, but certain black people especially, we had to fight to vote. Okay? That's what your dad do. That's what you do. We're going to keep it for real. But Dominique, what I'm trying to say, what the Republicans are doing right now, talking about fair voting right and stuff like that. What in the hell? Excuse me for being nationwide, especially excuse me for being an old veteran, but the certain Vietnam came back almost. But anyway, Dominique, I want to thank you very much, dear. But my question is, what do you think about what the Republicans trying to do with this voting act thing they're trying to get going on and stuff? Give me your impression about that, because I feel that they're just trying to make it harder for us to vote.
Now, stay with me here, JT, because I'm going to double ask you a question in response to your question. So, yes, it is true. I believe that it is true that, and yes, Republicans are worried about, internal messaging issues and external challenges, of course, could hurt midterm prospects. So this is about, there's an upcoming election. The midterms is very important. And we talk about that a lot on Keeping It Real, voting in general, but definitely these midterm elections are very, very crucial for many, many, many different reasons. So, but this to me, JT, is not about discipline, whether or not we are disciplined or want to vote, right? It's more so about the disruption, right? And I feel like we can't get too carried away with the disruption. I think this is to your point. We've got to worry more so and keep ourselves disciplined. And that takes us corralling. That takes us really leveling up, as the young people say, leveling up on many different issues and many different fronts. And so let me just lay it out from what I see. Campaigns, in order for campaigns to win, right? They require clear messaging. So there has to be some clear agenda posed to the people in which they are, willing or going along with whatever the projected agenda is, right? But there also needs to be consistent focus and a unified strategy, right? In order to overall win an election. But right now we're dealing with messaging that's being fractured, right? We're dealing with distractions in leadership that are dominating the headline. So we're caught every day with a new headline about some leader that's involved in some controversy or some issue, right? And so we are leaning against, right, supporting those currently in office, right? We're starting to really have a change in tune or a change in what we want to see, right? But the challenge is getting there. The challenge is getting to making sure that we have a candidate that we can all support. The challenge is getting to, making sure that the messaging can be cleaned up as it disseminates throughout different communities and what that messaging looks like, right? It takes a lot of that. And so my question to you, JT, becomes, does political messaging matter to you, or do you vote based on policy? Because a lot of people, don't necessarily care about the policy. They don't necessarily, they're not necessarily engaged with the policy on that front. They choose an individual who is popular, who is entertaining, who can capture their attention, who they feel can be powerful in the respect, as respect to entertaining and keeping people engaged, and not necessarily on what the issues are, what the agenda is going to be in terms of legislation. So do you care more about when you're out, and I'm saying this because we also have to reach one, teach one, right? So we also have to be in our communities, educating each other, encouraging each other. Well, did you vote? Are you going to vote? Who are you going to vote for? We need to be having these conversations, right? Because if we are dealing with the perils of what it takes to win an election versus the disruption of what we're being confronted with, I think we will continue to be lost in the sauce. But if we can really layer and pull out, right, what those issues are and really work on crafting to better those issues, the messaging, the qualified candidates, the candidates that we feel is going to speak to our issues, what policy it is that we feel resonates with us, that we really want to push forward. All of these things are coupled with asking for what do we want and demanding that a candidate is in place in order to provide those needs. So I feel like if we peel the layers back, I feel like we can get to the crux of the issue and we can demand what we want. But I feel like we're not really having those types of conversations with each other, right, in order to get on the same page. But what do you feel? Because I feel like, we can have these conversations all day, but when it comes down to someone actually making a decision, whether I'm going to vote or whether I'm not going to vote, I think that these really play into the conversation. What do you think, JT?
Well, Dominique, everything you have said is very viable because it's true. Okay? And excuse me, young lady, you were all over the map, but you was telling us like it is. Because some people might do it because of ideology or something like that, or be racist or whatever the case may be. But the fact is, when you look at it, how people have to live and how they have to survive and take care of themselves, especially poor black people or poor anybody.
Of course.
What we have in the office right now is for the rich. Okay? They take away from the poor and give it to the rich, Dominique. So excuse me, because everything you said is very viable. Okay? So excuse me for being all in that. To answer your question is, people that's suffering and stuff, they know what's going on, they see it every day. when they jump in their car, go to work, buy food, go to the grocery store and stuff like that, pay the gas and stuff, hear the news. Well, that's one thing. But when you have to live it, you have to take care of your family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got racism all over the place. It's been like that forever, right? But Dominique, what you just said was very viable because it's true.
Mm.
Okay? But the fact is, the way I feel like it, when people get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they know Republicans or Democrats, okay? The fact is, when people have to take care of their family on a for real tip, they're going to either wake up or suffer. Excuse me, Dominique. I know that's not
no, you're making
answer.
it plain, and that's what. No, it is an answer. It is an answer, and I don't want you to shy away from being confident in your answer because it is an answer, and it's a very valuable one. Because you're talking nuts and bolts here, and a lot of people miss that. It comes down to, like you said, making lively decisions for your family. Am I going to eat today, or am I going to go do something else? I mean, that's what it comes down to. And sometimes we miss it. Sometimes you miss the messaging. Sometimes people just it's just too convoluted with nonsense that they can't necessarily see, the silver lining. Am I going to be able to eat at the end of the day, at the end of this process? Am I going to be able to take care of my family? Am I going to be able to sustain, adequate living? Am I going to have to move out the country? A lot of these conversations are happening, but I think that we need to pinpoint how to stay on the same page so that we can get somewhere. That's all I'm saying. Collectively, we got major work to do, but I think collectively we have to be on the same page in terms of where we're going. JT, I got to leave it there. We got a lot of folks calling, holding on. Thank you so much for your call, JT. Do I have time? Let me go to no, I'm sorry. Message board is talking to us. Message board is lighting up over here. I can't keep up. Message board. Hazel Limbrick is saying we need to strongly advocate to get rid of electoral votes. That's where the power is. We can't trust it anymore. Yeah. So this is also, you're right, Hazel, but this is also a policy that was put in place around, we're talking about voter suppression. If we're talking about redistricting, how they're redrawing lines or trying to redraw lines in certain districts in order to manipulate votes. Right? Let's just keep it, keep it where it is, right? Then that's where, of course, these electoral votes and these things come into play, because this is also something on the bigger front that is still, somewhat of a mystery to the average American. So if we're not civically engaged, you don't necessarily know about how these elections necessarily work and how the votes are counted. Then yeah, it'll be easy to say, well, yeah, I voted. So where's the victory in that? I voted and my candidate didn't get elected, or I voted and my vote ain't counted. It's because there is a process that is underlying that a lot of people don't realize, right? That's happening. And this is how we see things that happen that end up with a president like Donald Trump. And so we've got to really, to JT's point, it does come down to our livelihood, right, based on our responsibility. But it also, as I, will reiterate, that, we can't really be distracted by the distractions. We've got to, or distracted by the disruption. We've got to really be disciplined in our activities and really be on the same page with that. So that's where I stand with that. And I'm sure that y'all are going to keep it real with me today. That's why we're here, to talk about it and to be about it. And I know that Rev is going to get more deeper into this, and even Jennifer Jones Austin. But if we're looking at from world crisis to what just happened in our backyard with Fairfax, with the mental health issues, with what's going on, with how we are shaping policy. And we just came out of a national convention where we talked about policy all 4 days. We heard from every potential presidential candidate on the Democrat side, that's going to potentially run for them to be the next president of the United States. And what are these people saying to us? How are we crafting not only the messaging that is being crafted, but how do we move forward in activity to make sure that this next time around, when it comes around, and we are going to hopefully see that when that time comes, we've got to be ready and fully equipped on how we're moving forward and what that looks like. And I just want to keep reiterating that for everybody who's listening and everybody who's in tune today. Good afternoon to you, Olivia Taylor. I see you, Queen. Thank you so much for your accolades. And thank you for, of course, keeping it real as well. I believe we're going to take a break. I'm going to hear that music. There it is. Dominique Sharpton sitting in for the Rev, y'all. Taking your calls, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. We'll be back with more of Keeping It Real with Sharpton. We'll be back.
Keeping it real.
Letting the joy unfold. I'm living my life like it's golden. 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 Golden. Living my life like it's 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 golden.
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Just break. I believe that.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
This was an amazing MLK breakfast.
It is truly an honor, and more importantly, this is an important day for us.
I feel incredibly lucky and honored to be in this room on this day, celebrating Dr. King's legacy of civil rights, especially in the moment that we're facing on a national level. It feels like warmth and home being in this room.
So I'm encouraged by today. I'm encouraged that we're getting out, we're protesting, but more needs to be done. We need to lean in.
And let's keep fighting, because the job is not done here. And I just feel so honored to get this award. It's not about getting an award, it's about doing the work. And let's keep up with the work.
I thank God I was blessed to have both in my life. Both historic, strong figures.
But if I misuse them and listen to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke. I had a thought this morning that I wanted to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talents in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me with other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones, and too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they got to open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about it is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I help formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advisor to you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughter started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
The Lord.
All right. And did I say go to this school or that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you be ready when the doors open?
Always be ready and prepared.
And that's what I'm saying. Get you some young people than you that you can help along the way. But don't be their talent agent. Their talent must speak for themselves. And anybody that grumbles with you about so-and-so didn't do something for them, maybe it's because they didn't feel you were ready, or that they felt if they did it, you wouldn't do it on your own. But we all don't live forever. I want the next generation to speak of me, of National Action Network, and others, the way I speak of Reverend Jones and Bishop Washington and Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jackson. But I just don't want young people to feel that somebody ought to give them the reins of leadership or give them the reins of business or whatever it is you're in. You need to learn from their journey, get the pearls of wisdom from them, but don't have them do for you.
Keeping it real. I'm Dominique Sharpton, Reverend Sharpton's daughter, just sitting in momentarily. Rev is going to be joining us on Keeping It Real today, but I am really happy and elated, really, to be joined in studio, as we say. But she is the Vice Chair of National Action Network, and she's also, of course, the Executive Officer, Chief Executive Officer of the Federation of Protestant Welfare Agencies. But she is with us today at the corporate office at the headquarters in New York. Sister Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is joining us early, y'all. So you get a double treat today. You got Dominique sitting in the hot seat, and you get Jennifer for an extra segment. So y'all are doing it big today on Thursday, Keeping It Real. But good afternoon, Sister Jennifer. Thank you for joining us a little early on our policy day, as we call it, Thursday here on Keeping It Real. But we are also, taking your calls, and we got many folks that are trying to chime in on the conversation today, and we invite you all to do the same. You can join us and call us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Before the break, Sister Jennifer, we were talking about, and as this is policy day, but we were talking about JT from Wisconsin called in and started this discussion that we on voting rights and on, how people are energized or feel discouraged, really, in the voting process as it currently stands. And then that furthered our conversation to discuss the disruption, the factor of disruptions and how disruptions have been happening as it relates to voting rights, as it relates to a lot of voter suppression that we are seeing happening throughout the country in various ways. And that, of course, took us to talking about the midterms and, of course, this very important election that is approaching, and whether people are energized or feel engaged or feel like there are measures that are hindering us from being fully engaged as we should be in the voting process. Now, we know that Republicans are doing all sorts of things, right, to raise the alarm as it currently stands with the current voting laws. And we even talked about how the messaging, has been distorted in many different instances as we are talking about, as we're trying to pinpoint the what, right? What are we voting for? Right. What do we need in this moment, and what we hope to accomplish, right, in the next moment as we are about to cast our votes. But also, in coupling with that, right, not only is the messaging important, and we can talk about how, the messaging needs to be, concise, the messaging needs to be redirected to make sure that it's reaching all communities, not just certain people. As JT pointed out, it seems like America is really focused on helping the rich get richer right now, and not really caring about other groups that live in this country. But also, as that directs to the leadership and the capabilities of the leadership and how we need to do our due diligence in terms of, really trying to pinpoint what that perfect candidate looks like in this day, right? What that perfect candidate may look like. But reaching deeper to that, as this is Policy Day, and with the Iran war going on, Sister Jennifer, of course, its potential on the midterms. There are so many other factors, I think, that we are not really including in the conversation that have a big hindrance or a big factor on, of course, how our votes will be counted, and of course, who would, presume as, to take those leadership ranks as we move forward.
Ooh, as you talked, I couldn't help but think. Well, first, let me just say it's exciting to be here in the room with you and spending time with you. We've had a good day.
Oh, yeah.
And our day is going to continue for a little while longer.
Yes.
I can appreciate how people are, apathetic. They're indifferent, not so enthused about voting anymore because they've just seen that over the course of the last several years that their votes seem to not matter, or they seem to be drowned out sometimes by other forces. And so I get it. At the same time, I can't help but think, as you were talking, I was thinking about being a little girl and not feeling well, and my mother or my father saying, you got to take this medicine. Mm-hmm. It may not feel like it's going to give you the result that you want in the moment that you need it or you desire it, but it's better for you if you take it than if you don't. Mm-hmm. That's what voting is like. Voting is like entering into a marriage, right? It's like, you are hopeful for the best and you want to give it your all. It doesn't always turn out the way that you want it to, but, you try to stay in it. It's like raising kids. You have all the dreams and you put them in a child and it doesn't always turn out exactly the way that you desire it will. But it doesn't mean you take yourself out of the game, right? Like medicine can be painful. I went through chemotherapy. It may not be easy. I went through radiation, but it was better in the end that I stayed in it. Voting is a serious matter, and we have to treat it with that same level of intentionality and understanding and appreciating. They wouldn't be taking it away or trying to take it away if they didn't understand how serious it was. If they didn't understand the power of the vote, they wouldn't be trying to suppress it. And so you don't give it to them. You don't hand over suppression. You don't let them dictate your lifestyle and the way of being and the way you move without you showing up and engaging for yourself. The worst thing that you can do when the going gets rough is to take yourself out of the game. You got to stay in and you got to be engaged. And democracy is a thing. It's possible. You just can't take yourself out of it. You got to vote.
Jennifer, in talking about the Iran war, and I know that we can get into this dialogue for many hours, but in terms of how it affects the midterm election, why is the GOP worried, that the continuation of this war is going to threaten their chances in the midterms? And coupling with that, let's talk about Black immigrants, because I know that people want to talk about that. Let's get that in there as well, being targeted by ICE, because these two couple, like the two, things are intertwined. But why are the actions, of course, of ICE dangerous, and are Black immigrants the root of Americans' immigration problem? I want you to talk about both of those things.
Okay, so the first thing on the war itself, wars are started by presidents often when they're in trouble. Sometimes you see it when they are trying to go for re-election, when their ratings are low, because we want to, we're macho here in America. We want a good fight and we believe we can win. And so Trump started this war because he had nothing for us on affordability. He had nothing for us when it came to the Epstein files. He wanted a distraction there, right? And there are a number of things. That's why he started this war at this time. There was no imminent threat. There was nothing major that was happening in the moment, but he was trying to create a distraction. Okay, so that's number one. And the other thing that he appreciates is that Americans do not like to see power change hands when we are in the middle of a war.
Yes.
So if this war is ongoing, oh my goodness, no, we need to be a united front. We need to have Republicans in the Senate and in the House alongside and working alongside the president. So let's not change that. Let's not disrupt that. That was the aim and the intent here. The problem that he has is that this war is not proving as effective as he thought it would be, as easy, as quick. His ratings are down because of it, and now it's costing us so much more while he's saying we don't have the money to take care of the growing number of Americans who can't make ends meet. So they're struggling because they're actually not responding to the needs of Americans, and they're asking for more money to fund a war that shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. Now, this whole thing about black immigrants being the problem, again, it's a distraction. What Trump and his cronies have wanted you to believe is the same thing that the slave masters wanted you to believe. The same thing that the Ku Klux Klan wanted you to believe. This whole notion of the reason that America struggles, or the reason why people can't have all that they want if they're white, is because black people are the problem. And we got to keep black people from getting ahead and being what they need to be. So when black immigrants are coming in this country, when people of African descent who are immigrants are coming in this country, oh my God, they're taking your jobs. Oh my God, they're creating the reasons, the problems why you can't make ends meet. When the truth of the matter is that the federal government, I'll just use this as an example, black immigrants ain't got nothing to do with the $7.25 an hour federal minimum wage. Black immigrants are not setting the minimum wages. They're not setting your thresholds for critical income supports. They're not affecting your taxes. That is government. But if you can make somebody else the problem, so we really don't look at what government is doing or not doing, then maybe you win. That's what the game plan is here.
1-877-532-5797. Sister Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin and I sitting in the hot seat. Reverend Sharpton will be joining us, but you can join us now. 1-877-532-5797. We'll be back with more of Keeping It Real with Sharpton. We'll be right back.
Hi, it's Reverend Al Sharpton, President and founder of National Action Network. We are at the very end of 2025, and I want to first say that I want to thank all of the officers, chapter leaders, regional directors, national staff, and certainly National Board of National Action Network for a solid and absolutely incredible year in 2025. Despite the fact that we are under assault, voting rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the battles globally where we're seeing Nigeria and Venezuela attacked, and on and on and on. We have been steadfast as an activist organization in the tradition of Dr. King. We started the year with a national call that thousands responded to, and we were in Washington on our side of town while Trump was being inaugurated on the other side of town. And we made a pledge. We told people to lift their hand and make the pledge. And we kept that pledge to work all year to keep the dream alive. And that led into when Trump went after DEI, we supported some that were boycotting, and we started boycotting, something that had never happened. We said we're going to go buy from those that have committed to keep DEI, and went in several cities around Costco's and Sharpton. We've now bought stock in other companies. We're going to shareholder meeting and demand they continued DEI. We've had a sensational National Action Network convention covering the span of activity, from political empowerment
to education, to how we deal with the black church, how we deal with black women development that has to deal with both discrimination based on gender and race. And of course, we came to Wall Street by the thousands and marched in late summer on the anniversary of the March on Washington. And people thought you could not get people out, and they came from all over the country. And we marched on Wall Street and had an enormous turnout. The only mass black march, black-led march this year. We had a lot of protests, a lot of marches. I salute all No Kings marches and all. But the black organization march, it welcomed everybody. We had white, black, everybody there. Was our march on Wall Street in August. And then our Triumph Award and on into our fall agenda of organizing, mobilizing. We've expanded. We've started chapters in about 12 new cities. So I am proud of what we've done this year, but it's only the beginning because our very rights are under attack, and they're not even being quiet about it. They want to revoke the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 may fall with this Supreme Court. They want to end the Civil Rights Act of 64. That's what the end of DEI is about. So let us be more alert and active than ever. History will decide whether the civil rights gains of the 50s and 60s died in the 2020s. That's on your watch and mine. So if we've got to march, we have to protest, we have to lobby, and we have to rally, whatever we need to do, we need to put our shoulder to the wheel more than ever. I'm going to lay out a plan on King Day, both in Harlem at our annual event and in Washington at our annual Martin Luther King Day breakfast that we do in D.C. We do two cities that day. And then, of course, all roads lead to New York to April for our convention. We had, as I said, the largest attendance convention last year. In 2025, it needs to be more this year because our very existence is at stake. We also are closing our negotiations on a new headquarters, our national headquarters that befit our mission. I'm so excited about it, but I can't give you details. We're just about ready to sign the contract, but it will be something that will last longer than many of our lifetimes. So we came alive in 25, despite a hostile administration, despite the fact that a lot of people were intimidated and spooked into silence. We came alive in 25. Now we have to straighten out tricks in 26. I need you, we need each other. Let's do this. All these tricks, don't forget, Trump only won by 1.5%. He is trying to act like he has a mandate. No, he has a mission, Project 2025. We have the mandate that we can't let them undo what has been done. And we must even go further for the empowerment of all people. Happy New Year. And be focused.
organization has been on the front line. People ask me, why do families call us? Because we never leave them. No justice. No justice. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? When do we want it?
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Dominique Sharpton with Sister Jennifer Jones Austin. Sitting in, taking your calls. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Got a lot to talk about, Sister Jennifer. We going back to the phones. Let's talk to Brother Jacob, listening to us on line 3 from Philadelphia on the Word. Brother Jacob, you're keeping it real. Good afternoon.
Peace be unto you, Sister Dominic, and to your co-host, Sister Austin.
Peace, brother.
How y'all doing today?
All right.
Hi.
How are you?
All right. You know, Sister Dominic, I heard you
asked,
mention
how are you,
Clarence.
Brother Jacob?
I'm blessed.
All
Excuse
right
me.
now. All right
I'm moving
now.
a little fast up in here. Keep it real now.
It's all right.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. But look, I heard you mention Clarence Thomas earlier, and to sum it up with him, he climbed up the ladder, then he pulled it up so that other blacks couldn't climb up it. It was that simple. This guy, I've never seen people, and back in the day when he was being nominated for that position, I thought, oh my goodness, we need this because our young, we didn't have Thurgood Marshall no more. So to me, it would have been, a picture of our children being able to, aspire to that type of position. So,
right.
Man, he really let me down on that.
And he was one of the few of his kind there, right? Because there's not many of them, obviously, in his time when he was there, when he got to the courts, it wasn't many that looked like us that was there with him. But go ahead.
Exactly. We had, but and you mentioned being progressive. To me, who we call the founding fathers, they left it possible for Americans to make a more perfect union, able to meet the needs of all Americans. And the more we know, the better we can make things better for all people, right? And that's why I'm glad that your father and Nan, they don't totally focus on and get us stuck on the clown show. Reverend Sharpton and Nan, they're building infrastructure for our people there in Harlem, USA, with the purchase of that new property, man. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm just thankful and know that we're blessed to have organizations like what your father and sister there with you, what y'all doing. So we have a Reverend here, Reverend Joe in Philadelphia. He always tells us, well, just keep on doing what you do. And if we do that with the help of God, we can't fail, right?
That's the truth. That's the truth.
Well, you keep on, like you say, keeping it real, and you do that. Y'all do that. I'm telling you. And Sister Austin, I mean, you just come with so much truth and knowledge that you have acquired that, again, you ladies are precious. It ain't Black Women's History Month, but I'd be darned if we ain't seeing this 365 or 66 days a year. And I'm thankful.
Thankful for you. Thank you, Brother Jacob. Thanks for your call. Let's go to Keith, listening to us from Atlanta on line 4. Keith, you're keeping it real. Good afternoon.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
All right. The reason why I'm calling is because of the Senate Bill 369 sitting on Governor Kent's desk.
His phone is a little muffled.
March the 29th. It'll be there till May the 7th. He can only hold on to it for approximately
We're
40
trying
days.
to hear you. I'm sorry. Don't mean to cut you off. Are you talking on a speaker? You have us on speaker. Can you take us off so we can hear you a little better?
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, yes, much better. Thank you.
Okay, one moment. So the bill's been on his desk for approximately 19 days. He only has up to 40 days to sign it. That's the bill, the one that they are preparing to take off, whether it's Democrat or Republican that you're voting for. So you won't know. You just see names. You won't know who you're voting for. That being said, it's going to disenfranchise many voters, be it someone that's elderly and can't remember the names, be it someone who is not as inclined in politics or whatever. Okay.
Are you familiar with this, Sister Jennifer? With this bill?
I'm trying to look it up. What state is this?
This is Georgia.
Georgia.
Right here in the state of Georgia.
Okay. Keep talking.
Okay. Senate Bill 369.
Okay.
And it's only affecting Democratic counties. It's not affecting Republican counties. So it's disenfranchising those Democratic counties. You understand what I'm saying? So my point is I want to know, is there a lawsuit that's been placed in on top of that?
That seems outrageous.
Because it sounds like,
It seems outrageous. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Right now, it's still sitting on Governor Kemp's desk. I don't see what the indecision is for him to sign that or not to sign it or to veto it. I prefer he veto it, okay, altogether. But if he vetoes it, it goes back to the Senate, and the process starts all over again.
Yeah,
pretty much. But a lawsuit needs to be put in because it does. It disenfranchises many voters. Now, I'm going to have the Democratic names all the way down the ticket because it's about 30 of them in my phone. So when I step in the booth, all I'm going to do is look at all 30 of them names, and I'm going to start popping them as I see them.
No, I hear you, and I always do educate myself as well. Yeah, on who's on the ballot, and even the judges and because you got to vote for everyone. So I do try to, if I don't know someone's name or I don't know, I try to do my research before I get to the voting booth, and everybody is not obviously thinking like that. But this bill, this is outrageous, Sister Jennifer.
Yeah, I mean, what's fascinating about this and so concerning about this is that essentially what they're trying to do is to have you focus on names and name recognition. And when you talk about the counties that would be impacted, they're largely black counties in Georgia. And so this is definitely an attempt to manipulate the black vote and to affect black district attorneys from actually holding office, county commissioners, people at the local level. It definitely is something that is intended to manipulate the black vote. While not necessarily suppressing the vote, it's intended to manipulate the black vote. Very dangerous.
Wow, thank you so much for breaking that down to us, and thank you so much for sharing that with us, Keith. Thank you for keeping it real. I hear that music. We're going to take another break. Dominique Sharpton, Reverend Sharpton is going to be joining us coming out of break, but it's been a pleasure sitting with y'all on Keeping It Real. We're taking your calls. You can join in on the conversation, 1-877-532-5797. We'll be back with more of Keeping It Real with Sharpton. We'll be right back.
I'm down in Tribeca, right next to the Narrow, but I'll be hood forever. I'm the new Sinatra, and since I made it here, I can make it anywhere. Yeah, they love me everywhere. I used to cop in Harlem, all of my Dominicanos right there up on Broadway. Pulled me back to that McDonald's, took it to my stash spot, 560 State Street. Catch me in the kitchen like a Simmons whipping pastry. Cruising down A Street, off-white Lexus, driving so slow, but BK is from Texas. Me, I'm out that Bed-Stuy, home of that boy Biggie. Now I live on Billboard, and I brought my boys with me. Say what up to Tata, still sipping my top. Sitting courtside, Knicks and Nets give me high five. I be spiked out, I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from.
Don't get it twisted. Everybody hollering loud ain't saying something. We need activists that are at large, but we need those that will continue these institutions and these organizations. If you are what you should be, you don't have to have nobody step aside. People will push you up.
Letting the joy unfold. I'm living my life like it's golden. 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 Golden. Living my life like it's 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 golden.
Reverend Sharpton, good to see you here tonight. By our count at WMUR, you've only been here once in 2003.
You counted wrong.
Okay.
You must be using the Florida Republicans count.
Nevertheless, as far as your visits are concerned, you have been here far less often than your colleagues here who have gone through the paces, met with the voters, done the grassroots style of campaigning that the voters of New Hampshire are expecting and looking for. Why shouldn't those very same voters not think of you as disrespecting them by not coming here and doing the same thing?
Well, I think, first of all, I've been here several times last year and this year. I intend to be here. In fact, I was to preach here Sunday, and the snow stopped me. I intend to be here between now and the primary. And I think that's any more than any of us. There are many places that some of my colleagues have not been to often at all. I think that people go and campaign based on their resources and their availability. So I think that that is not something that they should read into any of us about any particular primary. I also want to address your first question. As a minister, I think that you can have a personal motivation of religion, but you should not try to act like your religion is something that dictates where people ought to go. I pray every day. I can assure you in my talks with God, he is not a registered member of the right wing of the Republican Party.
Today, many of those same challenges still remain that Reverend Al Sharpton stood on the 2004 Democratic primary debate stage and spoke about, a clear reminder that the work is far from over. For over 35 years, the commitment to justice has remained strong. The fight continues, the voice is steady, and the mission moves forward.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying,
The two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you're very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
Racial discord, a blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I
a race
had to
baiter.
learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started
Real, I'm your host.
and publicly embracing my work.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Or you can go on the message line, and you on our message board, I should say, and you can send a message that I'll read on the air at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. I'm Reverend Al Sharpton, and thanking Dominique for sitting in the first hour and a half, and of course, Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is with us. I was in Princeton, New Jersey, speaking at the New Jersey Black Chamber of Commerce, and one of the things, Jennifer, that really drives the nail through the wood, as I would say, and we had dealt with it at National Action Network's convention, and I'm dealing with it. I'm going to a 23-city tour, is that we need to deal with our economic relationship with the public and private sector. And when there was a study done by the Black Chamber of Commerce, Harmon is the head of it, that said that black businesses get 1% of the state contracts for business, 1%. So my point was, and I'm sure the media there in Jersey is going to deal with it their way, is that if the black community overwhelmingly came out for Mickey Sherrill, the Democrat for governor of New Jersey, then what is she going to do about small and black businesses? Or otherwise, what are we still doing? Are we still dealing in a slave mentality where we're working, getting you elected, and getting nothing for it?
Right.
And I think that what people have, I feel, been in our community duped into is we almost apologize for asking for something, for giving something.
Right.
And so if whites of any community say we want our businesses stabilized, we want our housing stabilized, and we'll vote for you, well, that's good politics. If we do it, it's shakedown.
Right.
That's nonsense.
No, not at all. You know, the New Jersey problem is not an isolated problem. it's an issue that we've seen across the country. On average, you'll see that states like have, no more than like 5 to 10% of their contracts going to black-owned black-owned businesses. New York, as an example, was bragging, just in New York City, was bragging about a significant increase in the number of MWBE contracts. And then we took a look at them going back about 5 years ago and realized, yeah, they had a significant uptick, but it was going in the main to white women because the MWBE is just women. It's not black women. And to your point, I think that, when you appreciate two things. One, that we don't have enough money that we get from banks in business capital. So we have a hard time raising money to fund our businesses. And then you don't get enough in state contracts. Both of those issues need to be taken up with government. What are they doing to make sure that we have greater access to capital and then greater access to the contracts? Very often the government will also play this game of, well, if you are an MWBE, you can get a subcontract from an existing contract. And they will give big firms, white-led firms, more points on their applications when they respond to requests for contract proposals. They'll give white organizations more points, award more points if they're connected to a black business. But we need to reverse that. Hey, maybe make it, you are a black firm, and maybe, you give a handout if need be to a white firm, but we need to get around this. We need to focus on more funding, capital funding, and more contracts, and not just walking away once we voted for people.
Exactly. And those demands should be made in advance.
Right.
Of us getting out there agreeing to try and tell someone to vote Republican or Democrat.
Right, and staying at the table. I mean, one of the things that I think that we don't do enough of is we vote for people, and then we go back to our daily activities and act like the people just automatically going to live into the promises that they made to us. We need to stay engaged, and frankly, that's one of the things that National Action Network does so well. You do not let up. You have the chapters appreciating that they cannot let our electeds up once they get in office with the support of the black vote.
Well, and you also make them commit to certain social programs and business programs before they get in. That's why the whole idea at our convention of bringing candidates in, and I question them with fireside chats, where are you on this issue, where are you on that issue, all of that, rather than just making a good speech to us,
right,
is that, first of all, you can't hold anyone to a commitment they never made. Then once they make the commitment, then where do we fit in your campaign and in your administration to make sure that we can execute that commitment both internally or externally? And that's why I started 2 years in advance of this next presidential election, because this year we wanted to know what they were about. Next year we're going to want to know commitments, and then we'll decide whether, if anybody, we want to go with. But we should be matured past just being glad that somebody is a member of whatever party we like.
Nope. I mean, like that old line, beginning with not everyone who's your skinfolk is your kinfolk, right? Like, we can't just be giving our votes away to anybody. We have to be engaged, have to hold people accountable, and make sure that they are, holding the line for us and doing the things that need to be done. There's been a lot that's been done through the years. We know the problems. We know that we earn more than anybody minimum wage, that black people outweigh and outnumber disproportionately the people who earn federal minimum wage still today. We know that our schools continue to suffer. We know that we're not getting what we deserve in terms of contracts from state government. We know the issues. It's not like we're short on the issues. We just need to be stronger on our demands.
And not be bashful about it. The mayor, Rodney Jones, is saying Trump's beef with the Pope has escalated to where he canceled $11 million contract with Catholic Charities. Depiction of him as the Christ telling the Pope to stay in his place is blasphemous. Well, I agree with that. Then I see Joanne Kemp is saying on the message board, exactly, Reverend Al, When white constituents vote, they expect their wants to be addressed. When we vote, we are constantly tapping them on the shoulder saying, quote, remember me. That's exactly right. And I think a lot of it is, Joanne, is that we send some weak-kneed people in.
Yep.
Oh, if I ask for something, they're going to say I'm a shakedown. Or if I say something, they're going to say that. I don't care what they say. That's one of the reasons I've always been controversial to some of them. Why do I care what some people that are fleecing us think about me?
That's right.
When they're fleecing us. It's like somebody gonna mug you in the street and you care whether they like you. They're mugging you.
Right.
Let's go to the phone. Let's go to Keith in Atlanta, Georgia. Keith, you're on Keeping It Real with Al Sharpton and Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin. I don't hear Keith.
Look, he left the way.
All right, I think Keith is not there. Let me go to Brother Jacob in Philadelphia, the Word. Jacob, you're Keeping It Real with Sharpton and Austin.
Okay, look like we lost Brother Jacob too.
All right, let me clear these lines. See who some on the board that are not there.
2 and 5.
Let's go to Woody in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Word. Woody?
Yeah, Rev, how are you?
I'm doing well.
You sound good, and I'm so proud of your daughter. I don't know what to do. Every time I hear her, she is a reflection of you. I had one of my daughters here yesterday, and I was sharing the fact that how Dominique handles things, and I had to call her to let her hear, the follow-up. So you don't ever have to think about it because that's a reflection of you. You just, when you're not there, you're still there, if you know what I'm saying. What I wanted to talk about here was this issue of the judge, Fairfax, and this issue of what occurred as it relates to suicide. Is there anybody doing anything on suicide in our political structure as it relates to the education of it and the prevention of it? Any direct?
Well, I know that there are programs, and Jenny, you probably know more about them than I do, and but clearly there is a lot of mental illness issues in our community that need to be dealt with, and we need to also stop feeling shame about taking advantage of them. Many of us see dealing with mental health as taboo, and we've got to stop that because there is a serious mental health problem. I do not know all the particulars yet of the Fairfax situation. It just happened. I've met him a couple of times. I understand it was in the middle of a divorce proceeding and all. I don't know what happened, but I know whatever happened, for you to kill yourself allegedly and your wife and the children in the house, there's a mental health issue there. That I don't care if he snapped the last minute or been battling it for a while. Somewhere along the line, you got to deal with these mental health issues.
Yeah, I'll just quickly add that one of the saddest things in America is that since the 1950s, we've been increasing the number of jail beds and the number of prison beds, and now the number of jail and prison beds outweigh the number of psychiatric beds that we have in states across the country. There's been a greater investment in this nation in prisons than there has been in mental health facilities and mental health supports. And this lieutenant governor was not on his way to prison, but the point I'm making overall is that it's the divestment, the lack of funding to support mental health care in America, and the stressors in our country that cause people to, kind of be at their wits' end if they are not struggling with something that they've been struggling with for some time. Poverty is a stressor. We see among children these days that social media, a lot of kids these days are taking their lives, being too addicted to social media. Kids now getting involved in AI and taking their lives. The country has not made a critical and significant investment in mental health supports, but we can do more in our community.
All right, I hear the music. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, Jones Austin. Be right back. Keeping it real.
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Just break. I believe that.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
This was an amazing MLK breakfast.
It is truly an honor, and more importantly, this is an important day for us.
I feel incredibly lucky and honored to be in this room on this day, celebrating Dr. King's legacy of civil rights, especially in the moment that we're facing on a national level. It feels like warmth and home being in this room.
So I'm encouraged by today. I'm encouraged that we're getting out, we're protesting, but more needs to be done. We need to lean in.
And let's keep fighting, because the job is not done here. And I just feel so honored to get this award. It's not about getting an award, it's about doing the work. And let's keep up with the work.
Yeah, I'm out at Brooklyn. Now I'm down in Tribeca, right next to De Niro. But I'll be hood forever. I'm the new Sinatra. And since I made it here, I can make it anywhere. Yeah, they love me everywhere. I used to cop in Harlem. All of my Dominicanos right there up on Broadway. Pulled me back to that McDonald's. Took it to my stash spot, 560 State Street. Catch me in the kitchen like a Simmons whipping pastry. Cruising down A Street, off-white Lexus. Driving so slow, but BK is from Texas. Me, I'm out that Bed-Stuy, home of that boy Biggie. Now I live on Billboard, and I brought my boys with me. Say what up to Tata, still sipping my top. Sitting courtside, Knicks and Nets give me high five. I be spiked out, I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from.
Don't get it twisted. Everybody hollering loud ain't saying something. We need activists that are at large, but we need those that will continue these institutions and these organizations. If you are what you should be, you don't have to have nobody step aside. People will push you up. always in the mom he was killed. To let them know they killed the 3-year-old.
Because I have a dream today.
They can't kill the dream.
Thank God I was blessed to have both in my life. Both historic, strong figures. But if I misuse them and listen to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about tonight. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke.
host, Reverend Al Sharpton. It's Policy Day. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is with us here. She's live here at 9 Corporate today, as she's been working with us all day, helping to get our new headquarters prepared so we can go in the next couple of weeks. And we're excited about that, Jenny, and getting the building up to speed and ready for a new kind of chapter, not only in NAN, but in the community. One of the things that I liked that the New York Times article that broke, I believe it was last Saturday and Monday, they repeated, or Friday and Sunday, whatever days, is they talked about how we as National Action Network, were going against the grain of gentrification, whereas a lot of people were selling to developers, selling to outside interests to get the money and go elsewhere, which has brought down the population in Harlem and in other areas around the country. What NAN has done is buy into Harlem.
Yes.
And to his credit, George Faison, the legendary choreographer, dancer, said he didn't want to sell to developers. That's when he called me, and we were getting ready to buy somewhere else, and we said, we'll buy it. And he was determined and should be saluted that he did not sell his theater firehouse out to developers. He sold it to us, and we were able to get the financing and get it. And that's something I think that we ought to talk more about in our community, is that we keep talking about, oh, they're gentrifying us. We need to have an active commitment to reverse that.
That's right. It's the investing in our own. I mean, as you were talking, and you can see me, I can't help but smile, because we're actually reclaiming our history. We are living into our history. Harlem, historically, for decades, for better than a century now, was the epicenter in New York City, and for many in Black America. I mean, people would come from other parts of the world to Harlem to live and experience Black America in Harlem. And so what you've done, Reverend Sharpton, by investing in Harlem, in this area, I mean, like, we're talking about we are right off of 125th Street. That is like
a block and a half away from the Apollo.
Exactly. That's like the Mecca,
right,
if you will, for blacks in America. And what you've demonstrated is that, as you've always been, committed to the community. You've never left the community. You know, your work has always been birthed and seated in the community, and you are institutionalizing NAN in the community, making sure that our home is right in the heart of Harlem. On any given Sunday, as an example, today you can walk through Harlem and you can see more people brunching, if you will, at the Harlem sites who are not black,
right,
than are black. People walking their dogs. Many of our black churches on Sunday morning in Harlem not as full as they once were. But what you've done, Reverend Sharpton, is said, we as a people need to invest in our own. We need to invest in the community that invested in us, and make sure that we are here not just for a moment, but for decades to come. It's
and
powerful.
I said, and I unashamedly repeat, I've asked for 100,000 of our members or friends to give a pledge of $500 to help pay it off. But we there. We bought it, signed the deed. We're going to pay the mortgage off. And if people give, they can go to nationalactionnetwork.net. I'm going to announce it every day because you need to invest in movements. Right. The other thing that I think is worth discussing, since we're on this, inadvertently, I got us on this gentrification thing. One of the most painful things that I've experienced is I was riding in the car from 145th Street, where we used to be, down Lenox Avenue, headed downtown. And one of these cafes, when you mentioned that, that, you know, is open now in Harlem, that their patrons are not usually black. One of them was in the summer, and they were sitting out, mostly white couples, sitting out, having drinks, food, whatever they was doing. And some brothers, black guys, on the corner, apparently were getting into a dispute. And one guy, I could see him coming down a half block. I could see your cluster of about 3 or 4 of them and everybody. One guy swung at the other one. By the time I got parallel to them in the street, and the other one swung back, and the guy fell down. And he fell down near one of the white patrons who was in the sidewalk cafe. They both got up and apologized to the white lady while they was trying to knock each other's head off. I mean, I almost got out of the car and wanted to fight them myself.
Oh, my goodness.
They were not apologetic for having violence in the community toward each other.
Right.
But no, in this trained behavior.
It's conditioned.
Like we know not what we better not do to others, but we can do anything to us. And we need to call it out.
Absolutely. This internalized racism, this like oppressive mindset where we've adopted the, the oppressed become the oppressors, where we can engage in violent acts, physical and mental, towards one another, but we've got to always find forgiveness among those who were the first to oppress us. I mean, I've heard people tell stories, to your point, Rev, about walking into these restaurants up in Harlem and kind of like tiptoeing, acting like they should feel good that they're there. Do we have a right to be in these places? We've got to, this is part of our problem overall. The Declaration of Independence says that we are all endowed with certain unalienable rights, but we still acting like we don't have them.
Right.
The people, everybody fought for us. For centuries now have fought for us, and we're still acting like we're second-class citizens, even in our own spaces. Harlem is not a place where we are second-class citizens, and we need to recognize that. We need to treat everybody appropriately and fairly, but not be violent to each other, and then be engaging with others.
And Africa Sankofa on our live stream message board says, what about Brooklyn? They're stealing black senior citizens' homes. That is correct. You have a whole movement of sisters that's been dealing with what they're doing in Brooklyn. But we need to do it in Brooklyn.
Absolutely.
We need to do it all over the country. I've said to every chapter that as we do this drive and bringing national headquarters in Harlem, I want all of our chapters that are renting spaces to try and do a drive to own where you are, be an example of that, and work with those in the communities that's trying to deal with that. Not sit around complaining about if other people come in and cut a deal and we make the deal. We can't blame anybody but us. But if we reinvest in our community, that's on us. Right. And that's what every community does.
Yes, sir. And if we build businesses in our own communities, then we have the resources to do that as well. I mean, you moved National Action Network to a place where we could invest in ourselves and in our communities. And we need to think more about that as well.
Let's go to Rick in Atlanta, Georgia. Rick, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and Jones Austin. Is Rick there?
Yes. Hi, Reverend Al.
Hi.
How you doing, sir? I was calling President and CEO of Justice for All. I've spoken to you on numerous occasions, and I'm heartbroken, like everybody in the nation, what happened to allegedly with the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia and his wife.
Right.
It's so much violence in our community, Reverend Al. Here in Atlanta, the last 3 weeks, numerous young people are just gone mad with weapons. And we need to talk about and do something about all this violence. Mental health is on the rise. I'm a recovering guy from mental health, but mental health, I was determined to not allow mental health to destroy me and my family.
Right.
It did a job on me, but I went through counseling for numerous years and still in it if I need to. I worked for Maynard Jackson as mayor at one point in my life when I discovered that what I was going through that before I got married. And mental health is real. Our people in our community I guess, is still taboo for the most part. But we need to get a handle and talk about mental health more, because looking at this took place in Virginia, this thing cuts to the core of our community.
Very painful.
As children was involved, it scars them for the rest of their lives. We need to have a serious dialogue in this country.
Well, and let me thank you for your call. Let me say this. One of the things that I'm concerned about is that I preached just Monday the funeral of that 7-month-old baby that was killed by a stray bullet with a gang-related violence. Her brother, who was 2 years old, she's 7 months, never got to 1 year. Brother, 2 years old, bullet grazed him, but he lived, sat there at the funeral, and I said, we need to put him in therapy. National Action Network will pay for it. Imagine how this young man will be traumatized the rest of his life, where he watched his sister die and he almost died. We got to deal with this, and we've got to not make it taboo to deal with mental health situations, because we've come out of situations that we got mental health problems because of the conditions we came out of. We shouldn't apologize for what people put on us. We need to make sure we heal. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, Jones, Austin. Be right back. Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there, and act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special, special place in my heart and on my shelf, because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president. But we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're going to have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching. And I'm going to keep marching. I'm going to keep agitating. And I'm going to keep going. Until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie, known you a long time. Mariah, Chris, and your kids. And I promise you this. The only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again. dream is not dead.
I'm here because I must be here. Democracy is not there for the pig, and you have to fight for democracy. That's what it is. What Trump will erase, we will replace.
Is the dreamers in many cases have reversed and tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street. This organization has been on the front line. People ask me, why do families call us? Because we never leave them. No justice! No justice! What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? When do we want it?
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Just break. I believe that.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
This was an amazing MLK breakfast.
It is truly an honor and more importantly, this is an important day for us.
I feel incredibly lucky and honored to be in this room on this day celebrating Dr. King's legacy of civil rights, especially in the moment that we're facing on a national level. It feels like warmth and home being in this room.
So I'm encouraged by today. I'm encouraged that we're getting out, we're protesting, but more needs to be done. We need to lean in.
And let's keep fighting because the job is not done here. And I just feel so honored to get this award. It's not about getting an award, it's about doing the work. And let's keep up with the work.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host. Jenny, a lot of our callers and a lot of our message board people are clearly responding, and I think rightfully so, to the reported suicide and murder of former Virginia Lieutenant Governor Fairfax. And I think that as you and I began discussing last block, that the idea of really dealing with mental health issues is something that we've got to take off the taboo list in our community. And I mean our schools, our churches, our social clubs, our fraternities. We need to start openly saying that if you have issues, it is not only all right, it is advisable to deal with it before you lose control.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think what a lot of people, they see, we've been told that mental illness is two things. One, it's weakness, or that something's not right with you, like as if anybody walking around is perfect. We've also been, treated in black community, to believe that it's something you can pray away. And I always think to myself, well, if we want to say that that God put a doctor here to help you, if God put a lawyer here to help you, if God put an activist here to help you, then maybe God put a mental health expert here to help you as well.
Well, the other part of that, before you continue, is if you have a mental health issue, you may be praying crazy. You may be asking God for the wrong thing.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Mental illness is something that has long gone misdiagnosed, underdiagnosed, and again, I go back to part of it is this machoism that is America overall, where we are better than. I mean, when you have a president who is doing the crazy things that he is doing, taking on the Pope, taking us to war, trying to justify lives, misinterpreting the Bible, things of that nature. Somebody who's willing to invest more in a war than in people here in America and trying to help us with our problems. But nobody wants to say, well, what's his deal? Talking out of his head, staying up all night long. Did you see it the other night, Rev? Man texted from 9 p.m. until 5 a.m. in the morning constantly, like 13, 14 texts.
Yeah.
A nonsense. We won't even call out the challenges that our own president has. That's an indicator of how this nation deals with mental health issues.
No, we're adjusting to it rather than confronting it. And that's dangerous. And I was just reading on the message board, I see y'all stream run so fast because a lot of people using it, getting messages to us. But one person said that they're seeing a trend of divorce cases. Okay, here it is. Tricia, I'm beginning to hear about more people going through divorces, remaining in the home while going through the process. I hope that trend ends. Stay safe. That's a very interesting point Tricia is making. Because if the two people have decided to divorce and can't get along, is that a setup for some kind of bad situation?
Right.
If they stay in the home while they're going through the process? Right. I mean, I don't have the answer to that one, Tricia, but I'm glad you raised it.
But but it's often a factor of finances. So you and I may have talked about this once before. The research shows that the couples who get divorced at higher rates are people who have little income and people who have abundant wealth. Because people with little income and wealth don't have to split the assets. They don't have any. People who are at the higher end of the wealth spectrum can separate, divorce, and still live the way that they've been living. People who have middle income, they can't continue their lifestyles. And what may have been the case, I mean, you got two people there. Who knows? Maybe they couldn't afford to live separately, or they couldn't split the assets until the divorce went through. So one of the reasons you may be seeing more and more of this is because people who don't have abundant wealth can't live separately. So they're not going to do it until the divorce is through. When my children were going to school, I remember there were kids in their school who had parents who were actually divorced, living in New York City, brownstones, and parents living on separate floors because they couldn't afford to live separately. But if the stressors are still there, you may be divorced, you're getting a divorce, but the stressors are still there. That is going to incite some kind of like just not being right.
Yeah. Forensic accountant is saying we don't even address mental health issues in our own chat spaces. I agree with that, forensic accountant. I agree with that. Cedric Cooper says, I need the time now where even pastors seek mental counsel because of the pressures of life. If the preacher needs, what about us? Yeah, and I do know some ministers, some of who I encourage to go to seek some mental health counseling because they deal with a lot of the pressures of their membership. And it's a real weight to hear a lot of the things your members are going through. You bring that home with you. And then you may have your own home problems at the same time. And all that weight coming down on you. That's why I tell people to have an active meditation life, active prayer life, workout. Because all that stuff kind of works a lot of stuff out of you. And even then you may need counseling. But at least be as healthy as you can. If you're unhealthy and physically drained, it only adds to your mental health demise.
Right, and then in turn, it also affects your physical. You know, the body keeps score. I'll just personally say that I remember when I was in a very, very high stress position, and I thought I was managing it well, and all of a sudden I started to see that I had adult acne. My hair was falling out. And a year later, I had leukemia. And what the doctors told me is that, yes, it may have been environmentally caused, but there were also stressors in my life that were causing the cancer to activate in my body.
Wow. Let's go to David in Maryland. David.
Let's take a break.
Wait a minute. Let me take my break. I'll come right back to David and others of you on the phone. It is Keeping It Real. Sharpton, Jones Austin. Be right back.
I was just looking up, there's a book that's titled The Body.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement. In Memphis, Tennessee. And it has been the commitment of National Action Network to always, in the month he was killed, to let them know they killed the dreamer.
I have a dream today.
When they came for the dream.
That I want to end. He talked about the dry bones in the valley.
I'll tell you that.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone, and the knee bone to the thigh bone. If we are to prophesy to the wind, we must first connect this body. We must connect Eddie Long to Farrakhan and Cornel West to Elders and Lowry to Sharpton. If we can connect this body, then God will blow the breath of life into our community. But as long as we are disconnected, the wind can't blow because it's blowing on disconnected dry bones. But the good news is that we're the children of people that have been through worse than this, and we're still here. So even though I get despondent, I don't ever get depressed, because I want the world to know you won't beat us, because we're the children of those that took the worst form of slavery and brutality that ever lived, that ever existed. Our parents survived the Middle Passage. Only the strong got here, and then we lost our name, our culture, our religion, and we're still here. But you don't know who we are. We're the children of Chaka Zulu. We're the children of Mary Bethune. We're the children of Marcus Garvey. We're the children of Martin Luther King. We'll be here. We were first, and we'll be last. We know who we are.
Reverend Sharpton, good to see you here tonight. By our count at WMUR, you've only been here once in 2003.
You counted wrong.
Okay.
You must be using the Florida Republicans count.
Nevertheless, as far as your visits are concerned, you have been here far less often than your colleagues here who have gone through the paces, met with the voters, done the grassroots style of campaigning that the voters of New Hampshire are expecting and looking for. Why shouldn't those very same voters not think of you as disrespecting
keeping it
them
real
by not coming here and doing the
I
same
am
thing?
your host,
First of all,
Reverend Al Sharpton. Let me say by way of announcements, don't forget Saturday and Sunday, watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live both nights, Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And I have spent a lot of time on the phones myself booking some of the senators and congressmen that are in the middle of this Iran dispute, that are in the middle of the voting rights decision that could drop as early as tomorrow, or that could drop as early as next week, and how we dealing with redistricting that's already dropped in some states, and dealing with the Affordable Care Act. I'm going to deal with all of that, as well as obviously some mental health issues. So make sure you watch. I get the biggest and the best guests, and I ask the questions. I don't want a week after this enormous convention for us to just lay back and relax. No, let's follow up what we committed to do in the convention. That's why we ended on that Saturday with measuring the movement, so we can measure what we do on an annual basis. Watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now. You that are in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally at the house, that the temporary House of Justice has been every Saturday, Mother AME Zion Church, historic church, 137th and Lenox Avenue. We thankful to the Reverend Dr. Malcolm Bird, who's the current pastor, for opening the door. Now that we have purchased and announced our headquarters, and it's going to take a few weeks for us to get it ready. Obviously, we have to do some renovations from the firehouse and the cultural center was in there, but it's not going to be but a minute. But you can meet us Saturday. We cannot have a great convention, thousands from all over the country. I'm waiting on the final figure, but I heard they estimated that approximately 12,000 came through in the 4 days. But I'll give the exact number. But why have all of that, 40% of them from out of town, and not have the follow-up? Now, what are we going to do? What are our next steps? We're going to deal with that Saturday at the Saturday Action Rally, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Mother AME Zion in Harlem, 137th Street, between Lenox and 7th. All right, let's go back to the phones. Jenny, let's go to David in Maryland. David?
Yes, thank you, Reverend Sharpton and Ms. Jones, for doing what you do. I'm 78-year-old, a member of NAN and RNAN. Now I feel it's RNAN. When I was a little boy growing up, I grew up in North Carolina, Durham, and one of the highest buildings in the city at that time was Asa Spalding's insurance company.
That's right.
He had a black man. I walked by there, Mr. Sharpton, and I felt proud.
Right.
It made me feel proud as a black man. Now, I feel proud as a black man of what we're doing, and that it helps my mental condition. Hear me? When I see a monument, because a building is a monument.
That's right.
Other nationalities see their monuments, Chinatown. Now, we got to build our monuments so we can have better mental health. Thank you.
I love it. That's very, I don't know where that noise came from. That's very, very encouraging, Jennifer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's what it's going to be. I mean, when people come to Harlem and they walk down the street and they see they see the National Action Network logo, when they come upon the building, they're going to appreciate how much of an institution, if they don't already know, how much of an institution National Action Network is, not just for the Harlem community, but for the nation. They're going to appreciate it. It is a monument of sorts to the work and the legacy that that you have created by being, again, I'm going to say it, in the community and with the community, for, in, and with the community. And people are it's actually going to feel like they can touch it. It's tangible.
Let's go to Carolyn in Cincinnati, Ohio, the Buzz. Carolyn?
Reverend Sharpton, I'm about to cry. I can't believe I'm talking with you. But I was talking about mental illness to that young man. Whoever was answered the phone he was great. Now, I used to work at the at a hospital here in Cincinnati, and on the 10th floor of this hospital was what they call alcohol and drug floor.
Uh-huh.
I overheard this patient talking to someone that just goes to show you money don't mean anything. That she wanted the pool man to clean her pool. That's the word she left with her daughter that she was talking with. Now that was one point. Then in another part of the hospital, I worked on the 7th floor, which was the alcohol and drug floor. Now this is just God's truth, Reverend Sharpton. I wouldn't lie to you for anything because I'm so happy to talk with you.
Well, I'm happy to talk with you.
Thank you, sir. But, okay, in another part of the hospital, thank you very much, Reverend Sharpton. In another part of the hospital, on the 7th floor, was what they call the alcohol and drug floor as well. The other floor that I was telling you about 10 was for people who thought they were crazy, and they weren't crazy, but they were just getting some money for being crazy, if you know what I mean. On the 7th floor of this other part of the hospital, they had a patient there they had 2 patients there. One was a minister, brother, we call him brother such and such. Then there was a police officer on that same floor. Well, we know what the police officers, when you see a lot of shootings and whatnot, and it'll drive you to drink. And they should really test the police officers and whatnot. But anyway, and then on the same floor, no, not the same floor, but the same part of the hospital, there was a nun who, when I walked in her room, I said, wait a minute, this is the wrong room I'm in. It was cases of beer in her room.
Wow.
She was an alcoholic.
Wow.
I don't understand. Yes, sir. And I don't understand that to this day. A nun, a father, a policeman, a nut that she said was a nut. She wasn't a nut. She was just, well, like I said, she was just getting that money because she was asking her daughter to tell the pool man to clean, call the pool man to clean her pool. I just want to get that out there, Reverend Sharp. And sometimes some people have to be careful of who they're taking their problems to because they could be looking in the mirror, the one that they're talking with.
That's
right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That the one person that you're talking with, psychiatrist, police officer, judge, and whatnot, we don't know their background. We don't know anything about them. But they could wind up in those places that I mentioned.
I like it.
I love you.
Love you. Thank you for calling. Thank you for calling.
Thank you, Brother Sharpton.
And I see, Jenny, on the message board that a couple of our regulars are saying that you're going to see increased trollers as we get closer to the midterm election. You're going to get crazy. But what I've decided to do is not even react to them. Take their handle name on social media and give it to our security department, and let's run a check on who they are. Because, when you come on with your handle name, we can, though I'm not talking about people with a different opinion. That's right. Everybody has a right that we can argue. But when you start talking a little threatening or just disparaging, crazy, we need to know who you are. So let them keep covered on sending the wrong message. They're gonna get another message if they keep it up. If they go over the line, just please go over the line so I can just hand you in. I'm not gonna argue with you on the air. I'm gonna just have our security people hand it to the right authorities because you cannot use airwaves or social media to threaten or defame people.
That's right.
Am I right or wrong,
That's
attorney?
That's right. You're right, sir.
And I'm ready to handle it just like that. So don't tell them don't do it. Tell them to walk right into our trap. because then I'll be able to help other talk show hosts not have to worry about this foolishness by making a couple of examples, by saying, fine, you said I was so-and-so, now let's go to court and prove that. Because you put it in writing, you can't deny you said it. Now, I hope you can back it up. Sometimes you just got to play a little offense while you are dealing with it. So come on with it. I want y'all to keep coming and call me a bunch of whatever, but just make sure you can back it up. And because your handle, I'm looking at it while you're doing it. That's why I can stay calm. We got people now in the organization, battery attorneys, handle people like that. Let's go to Carl in Palm Beach, Florida. Carl? Is Carl there? All right.
Yes, sir. How you doing, big brother?
I'm all right.
I'm so thankful to God that you are all right. But what I wanted to talk about, the next holiday is Mother's Day. And those of us in the state of Florida, last night at our school board meeting in Palm Beach County, which is the 10th largest school district in the world, I challenged all of the teachers that they didn't have the quantitative knowledge that was necessary to educate African American children after we went through such turmoil in our existence here in America. And on Mother's Day, we here in the state of Florida, that law that was passed where they said that they had to include into the educational experience of the state of Florida the history of African and African Americans into that process. And they've been kind of somewhat, they've been reluctant in doing such. And this coming Mother's Day, we plan to introduce that idea to the state of Florida once again. And I need your help. That was the reason why I was calling.
All right.
Because I
need the details. Hold on a minute, Carl. You should call and give it to the office so we know, how you want me to weigh in. I won't do that on the air, but we can get a strategy to support that. It sounds like something that I would support. So make sure, and I'll get Reverend Toon talk to you about how we can weigh in and be supportive of that. Thank you for your call. I hear the music. We're going to have to go. A lot of people still online, but I'll be on tomorrow. Let us really, really focus. If you haven't talked to your family and you do all eat dinner together at home or whatever, where you communicate, we should talk about this Fairfax thing in our homes and let your children tell you what maybe they haven't told you. Let's try to use this as a teaching moment. All right, let me thank Attorney Jennifer Jones-Austin. Let me thank Dominique Sharpton for sitting in half the show. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.